Okay.
Okay.
Hi guys, this is Harry from Holistic Health Harry and Alkalize to Realize show. Today we're joined by a special guest, Sarah Armstrong, who
Hello.
hi Sarah. Many in the health community know her for her passion on health and Shabambu sister. So we're going to talk to her today about health therapies. So hi Sarah, how are you doing today? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Finally, we've had issues. We've done the interview already, which didn't work, which is kind of funny. You talking,
Yeah.
me, we couldn't hear me. So now we're finally gonna have this nice connection, which is going to be pretty sweet. So, with that being
Yeah.
said, let's start by asking you. Well, this is a big question, but it's a very loaded question. How did you find yourself in this position in your life right now? How did you get into health? Where did
Hmm.
it all start?
I I guess I was struggling to find out why there were so many people suffering around me that were sick,
Mm,
and um, I just began searching. I was myself in a in a career that was kind of running me down, and I had a really kind of difficult. I had some problems with like migraine headaches and just overworking a lot. And I didn't understand why I was like found myself in this situation. And I was coming from kind of like a failed marriage and wanting to like fulfill my dreams as an artist, but feeling like stuck in a kind of like strange economic struggle.
mm,
And I just found that it was tied into my health, and tied into like finding my voice and um, really feeling like what was the authentic voice that I was searching for.
mhm,
So I honestly can't remember the moment I came across the knowledge,
mm,
but I I'm pretty certain it corresponded with the interview between Andrew Norton Weber
mm.
and Lisa Harrison.
Wow, yeah, that's the first one I got into too, with distilled water. That's like an epic 1 hour and a half, very big one, isn't it?
Three hours, I think.
3 hours. Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry, I got it wrong. Yeah, it's quite long.
And I broke it up into like,
Mm,
segments and really just let myself, because it's so, I mean, even with the bit of research that I had done before that, and I had done some, I did kind of progressively change my diet for
mhm,
months to years prior to this. And so it came at the right time, but it was still really shocking. And it still took me a long time to assimilate this in my being, that
yeah.
it was literally, I mean, taking the model of our understanding of um, vitality and flipping it uh, totally upside down.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
but I consider myself, I'd always kind of tended to be open-minded, and found that like what I was seeing on the surface with people wasn't really the case, that there was something behind um, a lot of the affect that I found in my community, and what people consider to be success, what people consider to be responsible.
Mm,
And so I found what Andrew had to say really compelling, because I could see
mm,
through this being that, as he was claiming, he was radiating, he was alive, and he was speaking from kind of, not something that was handed down to him, but something through direct experience, something that he was had looked into, that a lot of these people that have something really incredible to say have been through so much adversity, and that I found to be even more of a testament to truth being spoken when people were still standing despite um, a lot of adversity.
yeah.
So, I began applying both practices, the distilled water
Mm.
and Shivambu, pretty much the same time. I
Oh, okay. Mm.
just purchased a home distiller,
Mm.
and I I did a like a gallon a day uh,
Looping
for
with distilled water, right? Looping with distilled water. Just wow, I wouldn't call it looping, but it was a lot, isn't it?
yeah.
One.
I really began a pretty hardcore loop,
Mm.
and I'd say like this when I first began was probably still my most aggressive experience with it because I happened to be in like a situation in my life where I didn't have to leave my house. Um, my 100% devotion was to um, really like looking at my inner child and healing this and understanding that I was embarking on like an alchemical journey. And I mean, I already spent many months um, kind of like looking at my dream life and doing a lot of journaling and like really deep subconscious stuff. Like
Mm.
I was discovering the
Mm.
different aspects of my consciousness and realizing that there it was multifaceted and that there are
Mm.
parts of myself that were not yet conscious, and I was trying to like almost interview myself and allow those um to be seen in the comfort and safety of my own observation, my own home. um and so yeah, I found journaling and just keeping myself in a like a little contained bubble
Mm.
was the way for me to heal these things, which came through my bloodline and my upbringing, which I don't think anyone in this day and age is has not experienced some aspect of their own trauma.
Mm.
Yeah, we come from centuries of imbalance and
Damage. Yeah, I was thinking that while you were saying it. Damage. People are damaged. Your mum, dad, granddad, and many generations. So I kind of agree with you there. It's kind of sad, but it is what it is. So yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because in the beginning you may experience like you might want to place more blame right directly to them when the more you kind of uncover this, the more you realize like it's just it's not personal. It's
Mhm.
really just like everybody's doing it on their own level, and I think um, it's really up to the individual how much they wish to transcend that and liberate themselves and realize it is on behalf of a greater purpose if they wish to understand their interconnectedness with everything and not just think of it as like a self maximization or augmentation of their interface, their desire to have attention or be seen or
Mm. So you said that you were doing looping. Did you stop doing that at some point at the beginning of your journey, or did you? Are you still doing that today, looping, or are you doing a little less urine, or what's your?
yeah, that's changed quite a bit over the years. I found when I began well it's gone through a lot of different, it's been quite some time, so it's been through many phases, but I'm now at the phase where I just take a little bit of aged urine in different
Mm.
methods, and I don't have a need to loop as much because I've really begun to understand the power of the dry fasting and the power of working with this cosmic energy through breath, through yoga, and appreciating like the purity of my vessel in its present state, and not having to continually tax it with more processing, you know.
Right. That's
But
exactly how I look at it. I was going to
yeah,
say that it's kind of taxing to drink a lot of water, even urine, in my opinion. Some people might not like to hear that, but that's how I felt with kidneys. My kidneys started to get a bit funny after I drank it too much. So I don't know.
it's true. That
Mm,
happened for me as well.
mm,
And I kind of had to go through a bit of a difficult period in between this looping and aggressive detoxing. In between that and now,
mm,
I essentially re-entered the world after this really
mm,
intense
mm.
private healing time. And it was pretty shocking at first because it was going from like feeling like, oh my God, everybody's a being of light. And I wanted to just like run and hug and kiss everybody. Like I quickly realized that was kind of bizarre.
Mm,
So I realized I had to like be normal and deal with like a lot of, the density of the, um, the commercial world and the world that mostly just consumes in this kind of what I understand to be like a downward death cycle,
okay.
um, where they just tricking the body into creating more energy for the next moment, but gradually it's just like depleting further and further. They're just devolving and not really creating an environment for the
It's me. It's my end. One second.
okay.
Carry on. It's some noisy car. So yeah. Mm,
So yeah, I found it to be like it's just a matter of people not understanding that they could
yeah.
that there was way more potential for their being to expand and their spiritual being to find a pleasant um, residence in their body if they wanted to like create a harmonious environment that it was possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent some years in the food industry. I was serving, and that was really challenged because I mean, I literally at this point I was buying gallons of plastic jugs of distilled water to
Okay.
take
Mm,
to my work because I couldn't like carry my distiller, keep it there or anything.
mm.
And
You
I
had
would
your
like
urine though. You had your
I would
urine. Were you not thinking about urine at that point? Were you? Because you could just.
I wasn't doing that at work.
Mm. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, it's a bit embarrassing, right? Yeah.
Well, I just found I probably could have managed, but I think it was a challenge because I really loved the first place was a Mexican food restaurant and I really loved Mexican food still. So I had a little bit of addiction to like guacamole and these things. So I couldn't really like mix my practice with that environment. But I found if I'd had
Mm,
um, water
mm,
there that I could just chug this, in
mm,
between taking orders or like taking out food. And I was great, it really helped me. I really think that and my yoga, my meditation in the morning, they saved my life at this point.
mm,
I was like, uh, I had to be really strong. I was talking like winter time and no car and walking back and forth across the bridge, carrying my own water
mm,
and, like really heavy glass racks up and down like multiple sets of stairs. And
yeah, mm,
this is how it kept me going. And I think, I think I was kind of anomaly to the other staff, but they over time I was at this first place for about 4 years. I think they began to kind of get me and appreciate me, but it didn't come without like the what's the when you join a sorority or the hazing, it felt like a hazing period or something.
mm.
Eventually I was accepted, and befriended. And then and I went through another place, and I started to develop an issue. I believe it was like a cyst issue, but it was some kind of thing in my womb, and it really hurt. And I, even with going back to like a looping my urine and a lot of Epsom baths and continuing, I had never stopped my yoga or meditation, but it's still, I had this for like a year and a half. I couldn't get rid of it. It was so difficult. And it finally broke when it dawned on me, like, I just have to I have to do the dry fast.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I did like, I think at first I did a 4-day, and then I did a 7-day dry fast.
4 day off the bat, straight away from no experience.
I
Wow.
had, yeah, I
You
had,
know what I thought? I thought people said that. I'll exclude my own opinion, but I've just heard other people say that you need to prep for dry fasts. People say you need to prep for it and do intermittent dry fasts. You went straight into a 4 day one without prepping.
well, I think I had already, I didn't just go straight. I had already been kind of like experienced, and I didn't like carefully record what I was doing as far as my fasts were concerned. But I had I would say over the course of like 5-8 years, I was progressively able to go on less and less food with, like, one meal a day or these things. Or I didn't do it every week. Like, I didn't do like a pick a day and you fast every day weekly, but I had done, I'd gone plenty of weeks with like take a day off.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I found I could do it, and I had to. I was really, really struggling. And that finally helped, and I really discovered the incredible feeling of emptiness, inside, and that high. It's like, oh, this is actually a lot of energy in addition to the healing.
I can relate to you. Yeah. The emptiness of being dry, no food, no water, is very special. More so,
Yeah,
more so than urine sometimes. I think. I don't know. But that's what I feel too. So.
yeah. I It's been I mean, with the age Jaren, I I mean, it's just incredible, this ability. I don't need to like chug it or anything. I can just have when I think of it. And I had like a year and a half batch or so, and
Wow.
and that was the first time that, because what happened was I was really like, I was living with my ex, and we were kind of living in like a kind of like an outdoor slash wilderness type format. Like
Okay.
we didn't have indoor plumbing, and we were living in tight quarters, which made for a lot of like amazing relationship skills, because you gotta get along in the kitchen, in the living room, and the non-bathroom, and the bedroom. Like, it's all so it was a really incredible experience. We both had a practice as well, meditation practice in the morning and yoga practice. So it brought that aspect of me to a whole nother level as well. But during this time, I wasn't quite able to loop as much, because our diets were not similar. And I found that he kept offering me this made with love cooked foods. And yeah, it was just like I had to reconcile that. And so I ended up storing a lot of my urine. And then when I moved out, it stayed there, and it got nice, and it aged for a good while. and I'm sure it was serenaded with music and all this, you know. And so, so when I finally retrieved it, it was really incredible.
Yeah, I can
Yeah,
imagine 1.5-year-old
yeah,
piece
because that
being,
was the first.
wow.
Yeah, and I also hadn't ever. I hadn't yet. It was my first taste of it. I mean, before I had aged a little bit of it, maybe tops. I had like used it topically from around like 2-3 months, but I hadn't. I hadn't explored this aspect of
What
it
did it
yet.
taste like when you did you drink it? Did you drink this 1.5-year-old?
Yeah,
One.
yeah.
Mm. What did it
It
taste
was
like?
it was wonderful. It was like a fine wine.
Oh wow, okay, cool.
I
Cool.
mean,
Mm.
yeah, it was really incredibly smooth,
Mm.
and I didn't find it to have a bad odor. Um, it was just kind of I felt like all of that had kind of like burned off,
Mm.
and
Yeah. Mhm.
um, it's like pretty dark, most of it. Um,
Mm. Yeah,
and
it would have been different
and it
colors, right?
burned. It had this incredible, like, soothing. Like the minute it touched the back of my throat, it was just like, because it just like had no resistance. It just completely coated every part of my
Yeah.
esophagus.
Mhm.
It was really incredible.
Mm. Sounds awesome. Well, I was thinking, in
Yeah,
terms of the color as well, sometimes they go darker at the top, isn't it? And not all of it's the dark. So it's got different colors, isn't it? Different, the top's darker, then the middle's a little bit lighter, and there's maybe sediment or whatever you want to call it at the bottom. So,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I would say that, um, and then some of them were just they tended to be like not as dark, but they were mostly pretty dark. The really older ones, and yeah, I'm experimenting now as well with aged, and
okay. Mhm.
um, I don't really, because it's like my diet's different than it was then. I am, uh, I'm just not finding it's the same. I actually not. I don't enjoy it as much as that batch. I don't know if it's just as good as not aged a year and a half
Mm.
or what, but I'm about to have to finish what I have soon because I'll be traveling and I need to use it all up. So I think what I'm going to be doing pretty soon
Mhm.
is an extended juice and dry fast, and then I'll finish up my aged.
Sounds great. Where are you traveling to out of interest? Where are you off to? You got plans for holidays?
Yeah,
Or, huh?
I'm going to South America.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Wow. So
Did I tell you this?
what's the intention behind? No, I don't know this. What's the intention behind it? Is it to do with health? Is it to do with just meeting people or adventures?
Um, I'm really called to. Well, I just ready for some fruits,
Hmm.
and yeah, I've connected with a good friend there, and there's an opportunity to. There's something called a workaway. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but it's like a little bit like Wolfing Network,
Okay.
and
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, you can kind of exchange your services, your help. You can help plant fruit trees or build eco huts or
Hmm.
teach yoga, or there's a lot of these type of communities where people want to come and have like a retreat space. And now that I've kind of like retreated myself and have like I'm a self-taught retreater, as far
You're a
as like
self-taught guru. You're a self-taught health guru, kind of. That's how we look at you. So it's kind of true. You've got
yeah,
good information for them to help them. Actually, you've got a lot of. They're not into urine therapy. A lot of them. Maybe they're not into dry fasting. There's a lot of things you could yoga, meditation.
yeah.
Breath
It's
work.
interesting. I meet so many people in my work life today that they're always either they or someone they love has something that they're suffering with, whether it's Lyme's disease or just I mean, there's so many cancers now, and people are just
Yeah.
falling apart, and um, so I do have opportunity to share, but it's like I'm actually interested in how you and Lee and all these guys are able to connect with the people that they're connecting with, and able to help, because uh, it is it's so shocking for people to hear that this modality may be something to pursue in like direct conflict with what their physician might be telling them, you know.
What do you mean in terms of the internet you're talking about, or urine therapy? Do you mean, what do you mean, social media?
No, anybody that you meet, whether it's on the, like, there, if you meet somebody in your life, in real life, and you want
Oh,
to
right. Yeah, it's life
help
changing
them.
medium. No, it's a
Yeah.
life changing medium. Lee and me have met up. I met up with him last year, maybe again soon in the future. It's not just a superficial medium. It is, and what we're doing now is social media too, isn't it? So meeting up with people, what you're going to do with the wall thing, that's real. That's more real maybe than, I don't know.
Well, I experience it now. I meet people just, I mean, now I just in my community, I meet people every day that it just depends, you know, you kind of have to gauge, you know, like who may be open to it and who's just
Yes.
not ready, who's not worth, you know, not worth it, but like you can only give so much of your energy related to this knowledge, I think,
Yeah,
without, you know, like just depleting yourself.
totally agree. Let's ask little questions we asked on the last one that we'll get through. So you asked me, so there's a couple of things. So we talked about Shavamba a little bit. What is grounding to you? What is grounding?
Oh, you like me to cover this again? Okay.
Sure, because it's first time for the other
You
guys.
like,
It's first time for the other guys. So yeah. Mhm.
yeah. Well, I think I heard it come up in did what's his name? This Who was the last interview that Lee did? It was a wonderful guy.
Mark English? Mark English?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he talked about grounding a little bit, didn't he?
I haven't watched it. I have to watch it. So
Oh,
maybe he did. He
okay.
must have done.
Anyhow, I'm kind of interested in this because I feel we are at a point, um, like he elucidated, and many people are, that are collectively, like, our form is changing to accommodate light body, and it's the foundation of that is going from like a carbon base to a crystalline vessel.
Mm.
And so I think from that standpoint, when we look at grounding, it takes on a new meaning. And I think what grounding has to do with, many people are looking for like a reality based understanding. When you ask, how do you ground, or are you grounded, I think people um want to know that, like, you're here in the present with them, and um that you're not in your fantasy or your imagination, or you're not in your past and your pains. And I think, you know, for your feet to be like connected to the earth, and in that state of presence, you have there has to be kind of like a centering of like your vertical and your horizontal alignment. And for that to take place, there's got to be this energy that's free flowing to through the earth,
Mm. Mm.
through the heart. And the heart's got to be open. And that's essentially how we can be present. If the heart's not open, then we're in a kind of a fear-based situation. And then we kind of tell ourselves that to ground, we constantly have to eat. And then we go this cycle of like, oh,
Yeah.
that's how we ground, because we feel that's more present, because we can sense and touch
Mm.
and taste. And so I think, as far as like what like a breatharian or a pranic being might understand grounding to be, is that we can be in the present without this fear, with an open heart. And that would be very much a reality based understanding.
Very interesting. And almost like fear is not a reality based in thought at all. Fear is imaginary. It's almost kind of and then
Yeah,
hmm,
yeah. It's funny how we get caught up in this understanding of ourselves as limited, but we really are just the observer um, of this incredible phenomenon. I mean, if you think about it, we couldn't possibly, any one of us, like pinpoint the moment of our birth that it began, or that we didn't exist before that as a consciousness.
very true. Yeah, we can't remember. I mean, people say past lives, but I think I don't remember my past life. And for a lot of
Yeah,
people, deja vu maybe. What's your opinion on deja vu? Out interest. What do you think deja vu is?
deja vu. I think I've experienced what people understand as deja vu.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I think it's again, it has to do with the phenomenon of time not really existing except for the part of ourselves, like the cellular memory in our being, that is still holding to attachments in these things, or thought forms maybe that we've had in the past, that we've created and somehow are activated in the moment by a trigger, maybe like a sight or a touch, smell, or something like that might trigger that, and then we might realize we've just experienced something that we created from a past thought form. I think we're coming into awareness as a collective that we are creators, and that this doesn't need to be mutually exclusive with the understanding that we are evolving. Like when people talk about negatively about creation myth,
Hmm.
you know,
Mhm.
and like this dualistic understanding, like that's completely false. It either has to be like that, or we came from apes, like,
Yeah.
there's so many dualistic paradigms that people are like kind of caught in. And
True.
I think in any of these cases, it's helpful to just place ourselves in the position of um, like authority over our consciousness, and celebration of that we're it's a wonderful gift to be alive, to
Yeah.
be able to conduct our body, and have a free will, and these things, it's like freely gifted to every one of us. And I think it's something to reconcile when we've all gone through various types of trauma, that like this the consciousness of a victimhood is like never going to serve us.
Right. And we've been there. I mean, me and you, and probably people watching, have been in this kind of victim mode. It's very common, actually, and most of our friends and family and close people
Yeah,
we love are in this. But it is possible to get out of it. I mean, we made a choice at some point, right, to bust out of the shell. You know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think probably people that have chosen these very difficult um, journeys are fully equipped, to dig to that depth and find that strength. I had no idea that I had any kind of strength inside me that would require me to go through what I've had to go through.
Mm.
Um, I never would have known if I wasn't put in this position. So while it activated all these parts of me that are like initially were like, oh my God, like this is terrible.
Mm. Mhm.
I also I mean, it was an equal amount of just like immense gratitude, because I think on some level the biggest triggers or the most difficult people in my life that I may have perceived as very difficult, or just my greatest teachers, and they, who deeply, deeply love me. I just think in this kind of in a more cosmic contractual way, knew that their role in my life would require them to be someone that would make me get up off my booty,
Yeah.
and like realize I could explore the meaning of this existence, on my own, and not be scared to do that.
Yeah, that's powerful what you said there. Very powerful. You also said something about being chosen. I kind of resonate with that, the idea of being chosen, or that you have chosen this before. Was that something you were hinting at, I think, or something?
What do you mean? I'm not sure what I said. Chosen in
I
what
think you
way?
suggested, or maybe I inferred it wrong, that you said that you've chosen this life. Did I hear that wrong slightly when you said that?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure how I put it, but perhaps they said that. I guess I feel I'm like responsible for my life.
Mm.
And I embrace it, and I don't really blame the world or my parents for creating me. And I did have, it's not like I had this appreciation like flawlessly through my life. I definitely had my moments, particularly in like kind of situations where I was going through deep heartbreak, and I felt like my heart was, I just wanted to understand, why is my heart made this way?
Mm.
It cares like this
Mm.
about such and such, and I got very angry because I felt like, am I, is this some big joke on me?
Yeah.
But, at this point, I mean, I was ready to be like struck down if I was wrong kind of attitude. Like I remember going out into the woods and just kind of like shouting, like,
Oh my
out,
God! Now, kill me.
"Let
Give
me
me
get
the
me,"
lightning.
like,
Yeah.
it was hilarious. And I found I was in like this deep and like peaceful, warm embrace moments after, and
Wow, that's
yeah,
really cool.
yeah.
Do you want to speak a little bit on your version of the divine feminine? How does it? Because I can't speak on that, can I? It's not a, now we have
Well, you can. Your
I have
understanding
my
to,
opinion, but I don't have my experience. So,
yeah.
what is divine feminine to you? How is it representation? What is the representation and manifestation of that in your experience? Be interested
Hmm.
in your opinion on that.
Well, I think that it has a great deal to do, just with the intelligence of, um, protecting life from the perspective of, um, the way the womb is naturally built to sustain and protect life. And I think that consciousness is more courageous than any that we know of out there. I think yesterday I saw a little clip of a little bird protecting her eggs, and she put out her mama bird, and she like kind of spread out her wings, and there was a big tractor coming, kind of like right at her eggs, and she just like stayed there, and she was like, she put up her head, and I really felt like I identified with that, because I mean, it's a deep respect for, um, the continuation of a birthing process, of life continuing, and understanding that it comes through the umbilical cord, it comes through the heart and the softness of the heart, and um, and a surrender to basically being open to all the elements that balance all of nature. I think that we kind of had some confusion about the feminine over many years, as far as like wishing that she'd feel empowered, and then translating this into meaning she should make the same income and be kind of look and feel like what the
man.
modern man, yeah. And of course I feel that she's just as valuable as the modern man. But I think that it's really confused a lot of people as far as understanding what her true nature is. And I think it has mostly to do with wanting every being to be fully connected to their supreme being, their fully enlightened, self-realized, awakened potential. And for that to take place, it's carrying out this understanding that healing takes place in when we create the environment for it to be happening, and like similar to what we talk about with cancer doesn't exist in an alkaline environment. It's the same concept. If we create an environment where we're not like attacking disease or introducing like a war zone into our body, or introducing a war zone into a place, or a neighboring country or whatever, then we've allowed nature to naturally carry out her own intelligence. And it's not necessary to intrude on that.
It's almost like people get in their own way sometimes, isn't it? I was asked, that's divine feminine. Divine masculine is different to you a little bit then. I mean, we're all divine. We are all one consciousness, but how is your opinion on the manifestation of divine masculine different to the divine feminine?
Well, I think it has a bit more to do with well, I'm not I know less about this, so I feel like I should differ.
No, you carry on, because I'd like to know your opinion.
But I know I've had to work on my own kind of fortitude and ability to like protect myself. And so, I mean, that's the aspect of myself that I've had to work on in order to balance things out. Which I kind of have, like, I feel like I was kind of I've always felt like balancing has been my primary as I said that, this thing started shaking.
Okay.
Because I just put my foot on it.
Oh, that's
interesting. Yeah, I think that the both seek to balance out the other,
Hmm.
and I
Would you say
think,
that an imbalance is what creates problems in within people? Actually, just thinking of it now, the imbalance between the masculine and feminine within our brains and bodies that creates these problems.
yeah, for sure. I think that they require each other for strength.
Mm,
And I don't think that either one can exist without the other. I think we see that everywhere in nature.
mm, yeah.
I think it's a little bit like, I think I touched on this before. I like to see, I like to think of um, this kind of cosmic energy from also from a numerological standpoint. And everybody speaks about the value of um, understanding unity consciousness,
Mhm.
and unity consciousness is predicated on an understanding of the number one, and the number one is something we can all understand is just eternal love. And we can't understand eternal love if we haven't cultivated any of that understanding of um, of loving ourselves,
Mm.
which is like, not a self-centeredness, but like a centeredness, of being able to love where one is and accept oneself fully with where one is, flaws and all. And so I think,
Are you saying that you have flaws, Sarah?
yeah,
Oh,
forever.
that's
We're like onions, and I really love. I actually the more I grow slash become young again, because I feel I'm a bit like I'm growing and older, but I'm becoming younger because I also feel like I'm tapping more and more into my inner child and taking care of her in
Mm.
a more mature adult way.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I feel more and more excited to like embrace the wonderful feeling of this like humility of being not unlike anyone else, that I encounter. And I enjoy feeling a bit of anonymity and just like the mundane aspect of life where, every being is like just another me, and in a different in a different time and space, but it's not I don't really see it as like perfect or imperfect. I see the whole kind of context as perfectly imperfect and certainly not static.
Yeah.
um,
I like
yeah.
that. You're at a position now where you can. I think this comes with age. Do you think it comes with doing a lot of self work as well? But I've got an opinion on that. I feel like people generally, even outside of self development and health, as they get older, they tend to get this. They tend to become more. I don't know, one consciousness. I feel like it's everybody to some extent. You can amplify it, I guess, if you're doing a lot of work like yourself. But I feel like it just comes with everybody because I look around at 80, 90-year-olds that aren't doing any self work. They're not doing what we're doing, but they seem very chill, happy, content, relaxed. They're going to die. No ego. There's nothing to prove to anybody. There's no
It's
like.
really wonderful. I think there are so many aspects of it. I don't think anybody is kind of left in the dark or in the dust with this. I think everybody is like exactly where they should be and contributing where their being wishes to be. I think in some sense we all, like I said before, I may have said like we choose our life or something like that, which you picked up on. I think our like soul aspects or fragments of us desire to experience something in the flesh, and it may be different in the material, now as compared to a possibility of like you know, trying a whole nother, you know, tossing that life in and trying a whole nother one, you know. I think each time it's an exploration, for us, like to fully navigate, with our own, um, vital forces as they become more and more awakened. um, I know in my case, I like when I had this like really potent initial detoxification period, I came to a point where I felt like, well, and I also had a bit of a near-death experience, tiny one, but both kind of revealed to me that this was the life I wanted to hang out in for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that um and with the near-death experience, I kind of knew that it was easy to see that, like, we're in complete, collaboration with, what we may think of as like supernatural forces. Um, that our higher self, depending on how attuned or how far we are from this aspect of our highest self, it's like it knows where it wants to go, on a soul level. And um, so yeah, I think I felt like once I saw the potential of the being, and I mean, I really, there is a point I was just like I told you before, I was looping a lot. I was getting a lot of sunshine. I was going to the ocean, and I was going to the forest, and I was doing a lot of writing, and I just felt like this is, I mean, I was seeing I was seeing, like, basically I had this vision of a rainbow bridge, and like I was like intimately understanding, like, microcosm, macrocosm, feeling like, well, if I can, it's just little me, but if I have this dream and I think it's possible in my own body, and there are so many people right now that I love, that I looked around me and all I saw were like just kind of like a zombie culture, and I knew that I didn't belong there. I kind of felt like I didn't have a choice but to just like go full throttle.
Yeah.
And so I just felt like it was, I like kind of, I mean, I tasked myself with it, but I also found it to be, just a really, really beautiful, understanding and connection, very, really intimate, connection with, um, moments I had with my creator, just, really sincerely asking what was my purpose and why was I made. And
Yeah, your purpose was to be awesome and to be yourself, to be the best version of yourself, is how I see it. And you've
yeah.
done a fabulous job. And I see you on Facebook, and sometimes I don't understand what you're saying, to be honest, because I think it's very it's too far for me, if I'm being honest. I'm at a very basic level, so I can hear it, but I can't hear it. My soul hears it, but my physical body's like, "What?"
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I
Oh
mean?
really?
Yeah, sometimes, but it's not just you, a lot of other people as well. So it's just,
Yeah.
it's evolution. Like, my consciousness isn't as advanced as yours. It's okay. It's like I said,
I
being
don't.
happy with where you are is also really important. So I'm happy, with
Oh,
journey and where I am now, and just as you are always happy with where you are. So it's kind of beautiful.
absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh.
Just a quick one before, because we've got to keep this on now. So before we go, I'd like to ask you if you've got any last thoughts, ideas, or anything you want to get off your chest that anyone could benefit from, in terms of anything really. So anything you've learnt, anything we haven't covered bases with that you'd really like to get off your chest.
Get off
Anything.
me. I don't really have I don't really have much on my chest anymore.
She's taken it all off. It's all gone.
I'm just doing my, I just think of it as so much as like it really is just a matter of people understanding that the whole universe that they feel is outside of them to change and to make fit is completely an inner journey. All these aspects, every last part of this reflection outside of them can be found inside, and it's so infinite. The more time you spend in this quiet, still space, it's really profound how this is where like the most powerful work, I believe, is when it comes to alchemy. And Ellie Tom, Ellie Mean, wonderful being out there. Also, I fully support his reinforcing that meditation is the foundation of a pranic life. And it's definitely because I think we have a bit of everybody observing that there's a great deal of change going on right now, and there's also a great deal of effort, people wanting to help the public health situation. And I think we're a bit of like in an age of the spiritual ego and the false prophet going on, because everybody wants, we have this like kind of everybody but I think like it's we're an amazing collection of beings, and this, the tapestry of consciousness is just, it's all one like network of light. And I think of it as a lot of lighthouses everywhere, and it's wonderful that we have them spread throughout, just as they are, in our own bodies, so that they can help carry nourishment, where it needs to go. And I think if we think about the health of our home, this consciousness of Gaia, and her being able to breathe life through clean rivers and thriving forests and all this, and provide everything that we need to be able to breathe, then it really has to do with just us taking responsibility for the seemingly most difficult aspect of being alive, which is to remain present and remember to breathe. And
sounds so easy when you said that.
And,
present, just breathe, and that's it. I'm okay.
Yeah. But I mean, it that in and of itself is what makes life an act of gratitude, which is, I think, what life is. I think a characteristic of its opposite is one where we're attempting to control for control's sake, because we're coming from a standpoint of, oh, it couldn't go on, or there's there's something that we don't understand, and so we fear this unknown, or we fear that we're disconnected from our own source. And, I don't know, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, and that was beautifully said, I must admit. So thank you very much, Sarah, for saying that. And what we covered today, hopefully it's been informative for everyone watching. Appreciate you having on second time. First time we did it, being honest, we just had an audio for you, and it was just me being quiet, so it's nice to interact with you.
Yeah, I was a little bit bored of myself, like I
just kept typing as well, guys. I typed on the thing, it was kind of weird. So yeah,
What?
remember I kept typing, or I kept typing you the questions. It was very strange as you were talking. So I don't think we're going to air that one, so that's okay. So yeah,
Mm.
thank you very much for joining us. And Sarah, do you want you're on Facebook, aren't you? Do you have any other sites that you want people to visit, or and do you have a YouTube, or is it just your Facebook you use in social media?
I do have a YouTube, and I'm also creating a Patreon. I would love to invite anybody that's interested to take a look at it, and I will. I'm going to be creating a few more pieces to add to it before I actually launch, because my technology has been just a mess lately. But once I get that going, um, I want to start to work with technology differently, because I've noticed that it's I brought up like the rainbow kind of vision that I had before, and I consider the rainbow to really be this inner highway, our multi-dimensional being, our the ability for the energy to flow freely through our body. And so I look at the solution to our technological problems as like strengthening our inner technology. And so I'm going through the process of like taking personal responsibility for that, and trying to change my relationship to my devices, but still remain connected. So I think what I'd like to do is create this Patreon where I share a bit of my own sadhana practice, and invite people to join. And then I have another little kind of creative idea that has to do with a more collaborative kind of prose game. And I will share that with you, like a link or something.
Oh, we look forward to it. When by the time this video airs, yeah, we can put that. Do you your YouTube channel? How do they find you on YouTube? What's your channel at the moment? What's it called?
I think they'll find it under Dakini Rasa.
Okay, so search for that and they'll find it.
Yeah, Dakini Rasa, you'll find it. I think that's good for, excuse me, for now. And it might change, and if so, I'll change it, or I just might disappear.
No, don't disappear. I like what you said about engaging more with social media, because I feel like that's the missing key. I mean, social media can be used for good, and that's how me and Lee and other people
Yeah,
realize
I agree.
we're doing a lot of great things. But I also agree with your point too, that it can go too deep and you can get too addicted. And I also agree with validation thing. I get it, the dopamine reactions. It's constant dopamine. So I'm very wary of this.
I mean, I noticed, like, even just if I hold my phone, it really damages my hand. And I practice Reiki, and I just did a session on my friend yesterday. It was really potent and powerful. And I know that I'm still, working with, incredible amount of like harnessing of light, but we have so much energy running through our hands and our body, flowing through our body. And particularly if you're conscious and aware of it, like I am, it's like I really am sensitive to this stuff, even with like this organite piece, which really felt very powerful at first, and it still is. But I mean, there's only so much that it can do if you find yourself constantly like looking for external. I kind of, many years ago, I just decided, like, well, at least I have to meditate at least more hours, or as many hours as I'm like,
as long as you've got breath and meditation.
right?
Breath and meditation is all you need. That's all you need, right? That's all you need.
It's a crazy prescription, but I mean, it's not actually. I mean,
no, it's actually true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, thank you very much for joining us today, Sarah. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show. And this is Harry from Realistic Health, Harry, Alkalize to Realize, Sarah Armstrong on Zucchini Ross on YouTube. We'll put up the links. We'll put the links up and sorted. So thanks, guys. Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you.